A strange sight in the sky last night over Oahu caught the attention of many people.
Look at that. And she looked up and was like, wow, that's an angel.
The cabin fell silent the moment passengers realized something enormous was keeping pace with the plane. A trembling hand raised a phone, and the recording captured a shape no one could explain. Tall, human-like, drifting just inches from the window at cruising altitude. Panic spread as the aircraft jolted violently. What happened next is even stranger, and the footage would ignite a global firestorm the moment it hit the internet. Mystery humanoid in the skies. The plane lurched violently as it crossed a turbulent stretch of sky on its way to Australia, sending passengers gripping their armrests while overhead bins rattled. In the chaos, one passenger raised his phone toward the window and captured a photo that would explode across the internet within hours. The image appeared to show a towering humanoid figure suspended outside the aircraft, positioned so close that it seemed to be staring directly into the cabin. The moment the photo was posted online, debate erupted. Some viewers insisted the figure belonged to something not of this world and argued that it might be the first deliberate appearance of extraterrestrial life. Yet the passenger who took the photo rejected every alien theory. He claimed the figure was a guardian angel and described how the aircraft had been shaking so violently that he feared the worst. Then, without warning, the mysterious shape drifted into view. What happened next defied explanation. The passenger stated that the instant he made eye contact with the figure, the turbulence stopped completely. The aircraft steadied itself, and the violent shaking vanished as abruptly as it had started. Skeptics dismissed the story and attributed the phenomenon to coincidence, atmospheric distortion, or reflections on the window. Despite the criticism, the image refused to disappear from public attention, and people kept returning to it, searching for answers no one could agree on. When a cloud came crashing down, in the skies above Yemen's capital, Sana'a, something completely unexpected unfolded. Sitting over 2,250 meters above sea level, the city usually sees its clouds drifting lazily across the mountains. But this time, one cloud seemed to defy every rule of nature. Slowly, it detached from the sky and began descending toward the ground, as if it had weight and purpose of its own. Locals watched in awe and confusion as the massive formation fell, its edges twisting and churning in the wind. Cameras caught the moment, showing the cloud shrinking and flattening as it approached the city streets, creating an eerie, almost otherworldly effect. Witnesses described a surreal feeling, like the sky itself had come alive and decided to make its presence known. Scientists struggled for a conventional explanation, pointing to unusual weather patterns or high-altitude air currents, but nothing fully accounted for a cloud literally falling from the sky. Airborne close call. Back in 2017, encounters between commercial planes and unidentified objects started getting a lot more serious and a lot harder to ignore. On a Ryanair flight from Eindhoven to Madrid, a Dutch passenger was casually filming the view outside the window when something shocking happened. Out of nowhere, a fast-moving object shot into the frame, racing straight toward the plane and creating an instant threat of collision. There was no warning and no time for radio calls or careful planning. Up front, the pilots reacted on pure instinct, making a sharp maneuver and pushing the aircraft to its maximum safe speed. The timing came down to split seconds, and that quick decision likely saved everyone on board. Spiral over Norway. In December 2009, cameras near one of Norway's most secure military bases caught something no one was ready for. In the middle of the night sky, a strange circular opening appeared, twisting light into a glowing spiral that looked completely unreal.
What caused a mysterious blue light to spiral in the sky over Norway on Wednesday?
It pulled the eye inward, bending and warping the sky as if something incredibly powerful was sitting right there above Earth. People watching said it felt like the sky itself was being dragged toward the center, which only made it more unsettling to witness. Naturally, explanations started flying around. Some pointed to rocket tests or military experiments from the nearby base, but none of those theories fully explained what people were seeing.
everyone asking what created that giant blue pinwheel in the sky. Speculation has settled firmly on a failed Russian rocket test.
UFO ideas and secret technology didn't quite fit either. The way the light behaved felt bigger than anything humans are known to control. The fact that it happened so close to a military site only fueled speculation that human activity might have played a role in triggering something far beyond our understanding, raising serious questions about what kind of forces could suddenly appear right above us. Shanghai sky horror. In the heart of downtown Shanghai, a couple snapping selfies accidentally caught something scary, at the same time mysterious. Floating across the skyline was a bizarre creature that looked eerily similar to a Zerg from the StarCraft games, with dragon-like features, an insect-style body, and a long tail that twisted in ways no normal animal should. The way it moved felt deliberate and controlled, which made it hard to brush off as a bird, a drone, or some weird camera glitch. Instead of freaking out, the couple rushed outside and kept filming, catching the thing from multiple angles as it glided through the city air. The footage was clear enough to rule out simple tricks or visual errors. What really unsettled people was the resemblance to the Zerg, a species known in the games for fast evolution and swarm behavior. That similarity sparked a bigger question. Did science fiction pull inspiration from something real? Or did human imagination somehow mirror encounters we barely understand? Snake in a plane. On Alaska Air Flight 2706, traveling from Reno to Portland and operated by Horizon Air, an unexpected movement caught a passenger's eye. Beneath the seats, a small black and white striped snake was gliding along the cabin floor, unhurried and oddly calm. At cruising altitude, where even minor disturbances can trigger alarm, the moment unfolded very differently. There was no chaos, no frantic reactions. The reptile showed no signs of aggression, moving with quiet purpose as if it belonged there. That calm presence shifted the mood from fear to fascination, and because of it, the flight pressed on as planned, touching down normally without any emergency diversion. The vanishing threat. A private pilot cruising through quiet airspace suddenly noticed large chunks of wreckage just hanging there, completely still, not falling, not drifting, acting like gravity had simply switched off. Trusting his training, he circled it several times, trying to figure out if it was military, commercial, or some secret experiment. But no matter the angle, nothing about it matched any aircraft he had ever seen. As his fuel dropped and safety rules kicked in, he reported the strange hazard to air traffic control. When authorities later reached the exact location, the sky was empty. No debris, no marks, nothing at all, leaving only one unsettling question. What could hold heavy wreckage in midair, then erase it without a trace? Wreckage that hovered. An American Airlines flight was accelerating down the runway at Charlotte Douglas International Airport when everything suddenly went wrong. As the plane picked up speed, passengers near the window saw a huge burst of flame shoot out from the winglet.
An American Airlines flight that caught fire shortly after landing. This is from a passenger who was actually on that flight.
Panic spread fast as fire flickered along the wing, and for a few seconds, it felt like disaster was unavoidable. Inside the cockpit, there was no hesitation. The pilots cut the takeoff instantly, bringing the aircraft to a hard but controlled stop on the runway before it ever left the ground.
Just as the pilot landed and was taxiing to the gate, the fuel ignited this massive fire.
Emergency procedures kicked in, and the plane was safely guided back to the gate. Officials later described the cause as a mechanical issue, but that calm wording did not capture the fear in those moments. Had the failure happened just seconds later in the air, the outcome could have been far worse. The animal that hung in the sky. This footage shows what looks like a four-legged animal, somewhere between a horse and Santa's reindeer, hanging motionless in the sky with nothing holding it up. Its shape is clear, its body solid, its details sharp enough to rule out clouds, reflections, or camera tricks. What really gets under your skin is the stillness. It doesn't fall, drift, or fight gravity. It just stays there, as if the rules of physics took a break. Calling it a reindeer feels like a nervous joke, a way to cling to something familiar while staring at something that makes no sense at all. Whether it hints at advanced technology or a brief peek into something beyond our world, the sight raises questions no easy explanation can settle. Broken window seat. On a flight bound for Australia, panic rippled through the cabin when part of an emergency door suddenly broke apart mid-air.
This all happened at 16,000 feet Friday night after that plane took off from Portland, leaving a gaping hole in the aircraft.
Passengers were left gripping their seats, convinced the situation could spiral out of control at any second. Still, the crew stayed calm, the pilots kept their focus, and the aircraft was brought down safely. Later reports traced the scare to technical faults and poor safety inspections that should never have been missed. Celestial visitor. In a remote part of Russia, a witness caught something extraordinary on camera, a shadow in the sky that looked like an angelic figure but without wings, almost as if it was offering protection or a silent greeting. Unlike ordinary clouds that drift lazily, this figure moved with unusual purpose and speed, cutting through the sky in ways that defied normal weather patterns. Its glow was striking, brighter than the surrounding sky, flipping the usual play of light on its head. The apparition appeared and vanished so quickly it left no time for explanation, hinting at either an intelligent presence or forces we don't understand. For anyone watching the footage, it wasn't just curiosity, it felt spiritual, as if the sky itself was sending a message. Sudden breach. Flying lessons usually go without a hitch, but on the 27th of March, 2023, a routine session over the skies of Utah turned unexpectedly tense. A student pilot and his instructor were mid-flight when the plane's door suddenly swung open on its own. The student had been adjusting a sensor reading when it happened, leaving him struggling against the rush of wind and pressure just to keep the door from swinging further. Meanwhile, the instructor stayed calm, guiding the plane safely back to the ground. Humanoid figure. A stunned witness caught video of a massive humanoid figure floating high up beside a tall building, completely defying gravity. The figure twisted and struggled in midair like it was being pulled upward by something no one could see. Just as the moment peaks, the footage cuts out without warning, sparking questions about whether the camera was disrupted or if whatever was happening moved out of reach. Living UFOs. As the twisting shape drifted higher into the night sky, it raised an unsettling question. Was this just the first target in something much bigger that had only just started? Not long after, footage from an unknown source surfaced, showing two huge, dark, organic-looking objects cruising at high altitude. They moved together with perfect timing, their tentacle-like shapes shifting as if they were alive. Nothing like the usual idea of a UFO. The way they flew felt deliberate and smart, fueling theories about living alien scouts or the early signs of an invasion, while others argue it could be secret experimental aircraft using advanced AI to move as one. Seconds from impact. On July 6, 2013, a Boeing 777 carrying 307 people was on its final approach into San Francisco International Airport. The flight had started in Seoul, South Korea, and after nearly 11 hours in the air, everyone on board was ready for solid ground. Then, in the final seconds before landing, everything went wrong. The plane came in too low and too slow, slipping far below the proper glide path. The pilots tried to fix it, but the reaction came too late. The tail slammed into the seawall just short of the runway, ripping the rear of the aircraft apart and sending the fuselage sliding and spinning across the tarmac in a cloud of smoke and debris. The wildest part was that someone on the ground caught the entire thing on video. This was not blurry security footage or a distant news shot. It was a clear, real-time recording of a massive passenger jet crashing. Inside the cabin, chaos took over as oxygen masks dropped, bags flew everywhere, and smoke filled the air. The crew moved fast, guiding passengers toward exits and getting them out as quickly as possible. Against all odds, many survived. Investigators later pointed to pilot error, citing an unstable approach, dangerously low speed, and a last-second attempt to recover that simply came too late. That single mistake changed aviation training and airport safety procedures forever. Hovering enigma. Airport ground staff in France captured footage of a caped human-like figure hovering motionless high in the sky. Its billowing cape defied the lack of wind at altitude. Unlike passive sightings, this entity seemed eager to demonstrate extraordinary abilities, suggesting intelligence and supernatural control. Seconds into the recording, a massive lightning bolt erupted directly beneath it, illuminating the sky with brilliant energy that appeared responsive to the figure's presence. The precise timing fuels debate. Believers see deliberate summoning of electrical forces, while skeptics dismiss it as coincidental atmospheric activity. This enigmatic event blurs fiction and reality, challenging perceptions of what is possible, and leaving viewers to judge between supernatural power and stunning coincidence. Tic Tac. A passenger on a commercial flight captured one of the most mind-bending UFO encounters ever recorded. The object, nicknamed the Tic Tac UFO for its white elongated shape like a mint, twisted and spun while darting wildly through a small patch of sky. It moved in ways no plane could, vanishing and reappearing instantly, as if ignoring the rules of aerodynamics and even time itself. What made it feel real was the shadow it cast, shifting perfectly with each movement, a detail almost impossible to fake. Some experts speculate it could be a craft experimenting with dimensional portals, each jump a failed transition between realities. Whatever it was, the technology behind it seemed so advanced that its strange, jittery motions looked like magic to anyone watching. Explosive descent. Festival air shows are supposed to be pure excitement, but no one was ready for how this one unraveled. It was August 8, 1993, and thousands had packed the streets for the Stockholm Water Festival. Above them, a Swedish J-39 Gripen fighter jet carved through the sky, looping and twisting like it was part of a carefully choreographed dance. Then, in the middle of a maneuver, everything fell apart. The jet suddenly lost control, spinning and flipping wildly over the crowded city. The pilot tried to fight it, but the aircraft was already beyond saving. With only seconds to decide, he ejected, drifting down under a parachute just moments before the jet slammed into a bridge near the festival grounds. Flames shot up, smoke filled the air, and debris scattered as people screamed and ran. Cameras caught it all: the violent descent, the explosion, and the instant thousands realized they had just witnessed a disaster unfold in real time. Door opens midair.
A disturbed man opens a plane door during a flight while panicked passengers grip their armrests.
In May of 2023, an Asiana Airlines Airbus A321 was gliding toward Daegu, South Korea, its passengers settling into that familiar quiet that comes just before landing. The ground was already close. The journey was almost over. Then, in a matter of seconds, everything changed. A man seated near an emergency exit began to struggle. His breathing quickened. Panic set in. Later, he would say the cabin felt suffocating, as though the air itself was running out. Acting on fear rather than reason, he reached for the unthinkable and pulled open the emergency door while the aircraft was still in the air. A violent rush of wind tore through the cabin. Passengers screamed as papers, clothing, and loose items whipped around them. The sudden blast turned a calm descent into pure confusion. Some froze in shock. Others clutched their seats, unsure if the plane itself was about to follow the air rushing out. Flight attendants moved fast, fighting panic with urgency, administering first aid, and trying to steady those overwhelmed by fear. The aircraft continued its descent, seconds feeling like minutes, until the wheels finally touched the runway. The man was detained immediately after landing. Investigators later confirmed that the plane's low altitude likely prevented a far more serious outcome. No one was physically hurt, but the emotional impact lingered. The incident forced the airline to rethink safety policies around emergency exit seating. It was a stark reminder that in the sky, danger does not always come from failing machines. Sometimes it begins with a single moment of human fear. Chelyabinsk meteor fireball. It begins like any ordinary winter morning in the Russian city of Chelyabinsk. Cars move through traffic, dashcams quietly recording routine commutes. Then, without warning, the sky ignites. A blinding streak of light tears across the horizon, brighter than the sun, forcing drivers to shield their eyes as shadows stretch across frozen roads. Seconds later, the fireball vanishes. For a brief moment, there is calm. Then the shockwave arrives. An explosive boom rolls through the city, powerful enough to shatter windows, buckle doors, and send glass raining into offices, classrooms, and shopping centers. Buildings tremble. Alarms scream. People stumble into the streets, unsure of what they have just witnessed. Some believe it is an aircraft. Others fear something far worse. What makes this event so extraordinary is how clearly it was captured. Dozens of dash cams recorded the same moment from different angles, allowing the world to watch the disaster unfold in real time. The footage shows the flash, the delay, and the devastating force that followed, turning an invisible threat from space into undeniable reality. Scientists later confirmed the object was a meteor traveling faster than sound, releasing energy stronger than many weapons ever tested. Yet at the moment it happened, no one knew what was coming. The cameras kept rolling, preserving a rare glimpse of how fragile normal life can be when the sky itself becomes the danger. Skyscraper in the clouds. In August 2018, a passenger on a commercial flight cruising more than 35,000 feet above Kumamoto, Japan, noticed something that made no sense. Floating near the top of the clouds was a massive, motionless structure easily the size of a skyscraper. The witness, known as Arak, described it as a huge formation that felt impossible to wrap his head around. At first, meteorologists and even NASA suggested it might be volcanic ash, but that explanation fell apart since there were no eruptions anywhere nearby. What made the sighting even stranger was how still it was, with no smoke, no trails, and no signs of anything breaking apart. Its sheer size and clarity made it almost impossible to fake, pushing many to call it the largest UFO sighting ever captured, and raising serious questions about advanced technology watching from above. Pink volcano. You won't see this every day. The Popocatépetl volcano erupted in a way that looked straight out of a fantasy movie, sending billows of pink smoke swirling high into the sky. Locals and visitors alike watched in awe as the unusual hue painted the clouds, contrasting sharply with the dark volcanic rock below. Scientists say the color comes from chemical reactions in the gases, but seeing it with your own eyes feels almost magical. Each plume twisted and turned, drifting like a living, glowing ribbon above the crater, a rare and unforgettable display of nature's strange beauty. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.